Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Facebook Live Midweek Thought for the Day, where we're going to catch up on what the sermon that I've used in the midweek services. So we've moved away from looking at some women in the Bible, not all of them, we looked at a selection. And then I've been for a while and decided that we'd look at some bits from this book, which is by Terry Waite, Out of the Silence. So some of you will remember that Terry Waite was held hostage for a long time, and that kind of informed his experience. He was a negotiator. He worked for the Archbishop of Canterbury. So it was a kind of in the 80s. It was a kind of important thing. We prayed for him a lot in the 80s. So we're going to be looking at some of the poems that he's written in that book, Out of the Silence. So we're going to have a think about that, but we're going to start with some Bible readings for today. The first is way back in Genesis, before Genesis 11, so in the prehistory part of the Bible. Cain and Abel, you might remember, are Adam and Eve's first two sons. So we're going to have a bit of that. So Genesis 4, chapter 3. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel, for his part, brought the firstlings of his flock, their fat portions, and the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry, and why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it." Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" He said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen to your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground, and now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it will no longer yield to you its strength, and you will be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." That goes on a bit there. So that's the story of Cain and Abel. And with the Gospel reading for today, we used Jesus prays in Gethsemane from Matthew 26, beginning at verse 36. So we went through from there until 46. But it's the bit where Jesus is praying and asking Jesus to take the suffering from him. So from 39, and going a little further, he threw himself on the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, yet not what I want, but what you want." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray, that you may not come to the time of trial. And the spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away for the second time and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." Again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So, leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners." So those were the Bible readings which we had for today. And so this week I wanted to just touch on suffering. Suffering is a big issue, and Stephen Fry often cites it as part of his kind of decision for atheism, in that he doesn't want to believe in a God who allows as much suffering in the world as there is suffering in the world. And it's still a big issue. How do we square a loving God with a God who allows suffering to happen? Many years ago, I was involved in a very tragic situation where I went to visit someone who whose husband had died, and I'd read just before I went that if you're the vicar, don't try and make excuses for God. And I thought, well, that's good, because I have no idea what God's up to in this situation. This seems something I don't understand at all. And I said to them, apparently, as was reported to me later, that they needed to fight their own battle with God about him letting this happen, this suffering. And a couple of years later, a member of the family said to me, Janet, that was a really useful thing that you said, that actually suffering is something that we have to fight ourselves with God about. I picked the Genesis reading because it's that bit so way back in the beginning of time, and when you look in the archaeological record, particularly in the UK, you find that there's a lot of violent tension between people when they start farming and people who want to lead a bigger nomadic, either herding or hunter-gathering lifestyle. And there's lots of evidence of violence and a choice for violence rather than a choice for peace. And so even in the very beginning of humans, and humans trying to explain what life is like and what it's like to be human, you see this violence which occurs. And that's something which I just wanted us to sort of acknowledge, how the kind of very earliest archaeological records for humans are tied up in this kind of story. And you can see why, if someone starts to farm, and that's where you normally take your sheep, or where your deer would normally run through, how actually that begins to create incredible tensions between people. Anyway, on to the Terry Waite book. So I'm going to be reading a poem which is actually starts on page 19. There's 2 paragraphs of prose which I think are quite interesting. Tim Newell, who for many years was a prison governor and is now in his retirement, runs an organisation called Escaping Victimhood. This group works especially with those unfortunate individuals who have experienced a murder, and gives them the support so necessary if they are to continue to lead a normal life. So when I read that made me think of Cain and Abel, and the kind of acknowledgement that murder existed right at the beginning of time. And then Terry Waite goes on to say this: for some prisoners, time spent locked up can provide them with an opportunity for introspective reflection, and this can be painful. I wrote the following poem when I felt the terror of being deeply alone in a vast universe, and when I felt the need for human companionship and for the assurance that religious belief brings to some. I did not feel the close presence of God, but nevertheless I cried out. So this is At Night. It's on page 19 of this book by Terry Waite, Out of the Silence. It has recesses in it a lot. I never know quite how to say that. Bear with me if you think I'm saying it wrongly. I'm trying my best. It has a lot of is in it. At night. In the silent recesses of night, all without is still. The fever of life is over. The busy world is hushed. In the silent recesses of night, all is still. In the silent recesses of night, my eyes close. Fever over, world hushed, deep within. In the dark recesses of soul, fever rages. Be still, my soul, be still. Be at one with your Creator, Healer, Father, Mother, Giver of life. In the silent recesses of night, across the ocean of dreams, fear stalks my soul. The waters are deep. There is no chart. In feverish haste I reach out. Hold me, then I shall be still. In the silent recesses of night I sleep. The ocean calms. Stillness enters my soul. Stillness within. Stillness without. A restless stillness. In the silent recesses of night I sleep alone, alone on the ocean, longing to be held, longing to be safe, longing to be healed. The fever of life is over. The busy world is hushed. I rest in my Creator, but for a moment. Heal me, O God. Without you, I drown. So that's the poem from Terry Waite for this week. There will be some more. I'm not sure exactly how many more weeks. I need to finalise the planning on that, but certainly in the lead up to Advent. If you'd like to do some more homework, theological homework for this week is reading Psalm 40 and seeing if it reflects the poem which was written by Terry Waite. If you don't want to read Psalm 40, then you can look up Psalm 40 on YouTube with U2 and listen to their version of it and see how that ties in, and maybe how that ties in with yours or other people's experience of suffering. So that's Midweek Thought for the Day for this week. Thank you for watching. I'll be back on Sunday with the Sunday Thought for the Day. There are church services on Sundays, so it'd be lovely to see you there if you wanted to come along. So I'll see you soon. Bye.